Poor girl asks Billionaire about a cure for missing someone. His response shocks everyone. Have you ever felt a pain so deep, it feels like your chest might cave in? That's the kind of ache Emily, a 5-year-old girl with big brown eyes and curly hair, carried into Horizon Clinic one fateful day. She wasn't there for medicine or surgery. She was searching for something far more elusive, a cure for missing someone. Her mother had passed away just weeks before, leaving her alone in a world that suddenly seemed too loud, too empty, and too cruel. But what happened when this fragile child walked up to billionaire Michael Carter, a man known as much for his icy demeanor as for his wealth, would leave everyone who witnessed it speechless. What she asked him and how he responded would change both their lives forever. The scene at the clinic was strikingly ordinary, yet profoundly surreal. The marble floors gleamed under bright lights, reflecting people rushing about their days, phones glued to their ears, folders clutched tightly in hand. No one noticed the tiny figure weaving through them until she reached the front desk. Too small to see over its towering height, Emily stood on tiptoes, clutching a worn-out teddy bear named Mr. Hugs. When Michael turned around, a man whose face hadn't cracked a smile in years, no one expected what came next. "Sir," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Is there a cure for missing someone?" The room froze. Phones stopped buzzing. Conversations died mid-sentence. Everyone watched as tears welled up in her eyes, spilling onto the blue dress she wore, now marked by grief no child should bear. Michael Carter wasn't supposed to be moved by anything or anyone. Known for building an empire out of sheer determination and cold pragmatism, he had long since buried his own emotions after losing his wife years earlier. Yet here was Emily, a mirror of the sorrow he thought he'd locked away. Something inside him shifted when she spoke, her words cutting deeper than any business deal ever could. As he knelt down to meet her gaze, those grey storm clouds in his eyes softened slightly. For the first time in years, empathy stirred within him. He didn't have a magical solution for her pain. No pill or procedure could erase the hole left by her mother's absence. But what he said next sent ripples through the crowded clinic. His voice choked with emotion. He told her, "There isn't a cure, little one, but the love your mom gave you, it stays right here." And then, pointing upward, he added, "Whenever you miss her, look at the stars. She's watching over you." But the story doesn't end there. This moment wasn't just about comforting a grieving child. It was the beginning of something neither Emily nor Michael could have anticipated. You see, Emily wasn't just visiting the clinic that day. She revealed she lived alone, managing as best she could without parents or guardians. It was a revelation that stunned even the hardened billionaire. How could a 5-year-old possibly survive on her own? Where were her relatives? Why had society let her slip through the cracks? These questions gnawed at Michael, pulling him toward a decision that would alter the course of both their lives. Against all odds, he decided to take her home. Not because it was convenient or easy, but because he couldn't walk away from the raw vulnerability staring back at him. As they stepped out of the clinic together, the stark contrast between their worlds became painfully clear. Michael drove a sleek black sedan, while Emily talked excitedly about passing toy stores and dogs along the way. They arrived at a crumbling apartment building, where Emily led him upstairs to a dimly lit flat, filled with peeling paint and silence. There was no sign of life, just a mattress on the floor, a few mismatched dishes, and a box holding treasures from her mother, photos, letters, and a floral brooch. The reality of her situation hit Michael like a punch to the gut. He realized then that taking her home wasn't just an act of kindness, it was a lifeline. And though he knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, he also understood that walking away wasn't an option. Their journey together began tentatively, like two strangers learning to trust each other. At first, Emily clung to Mr. Hugs and memories of her mother, unsure of whether she could rely on this stranger who called himself Michael. Meanwhile, Michael struggled to navigate uncharted territory, parenthood. A man accustomed to commanding boardrooms found himself stumped by bedtime routines, school schedules, and the quiet fears that haunted a little girl's dreams. Nights were especially hard. Emily often woke screaming, calling for her mum, her sobs echoing through the mansion's cavernous halls. Each time, Michael rushed to her side, holding her close and whispering reassurances. Slowly, they built bridges of trust, one hug, one story, one shared laugh at a time. Yet beneath the surface of their growing bond lay layers of complexity. Michael wrestled with guilt over recognizing Olivia, Emily's mother, from his past. Decades ago, she had been his college sweetheart, the woman who taught him to dream beyond money and power. Their relationship ended bitterly, torn apart by ambition and misunderstanding. Now fate had brought them together again, not through Olivia herself, but through the daughter she left behind. Was this coincidence, destiny, or simply the universe's way of correcting mistakes made long ago? These questions lingered in Michael's mind as he watched Emily draw pictures of her new family, sketches that included him standing beside her under a bright sun. Despite the progress they made, shadows loomed large. Legal hurdles threatened to tear them apart, forcing Michael to fight not only for custody, but also for recognition as a capable father. Social workers scrutinized every aspect of their unconventional arrangement, questioning whether a single billionaire could truly provide the emotional stability a child like Emily needed. In court, Michael faced tough questions about his work schedule, the absence of maternal figures in her life, and the irregular circumstances surrounding her adoption. With everything on the line, he did something unexpected. He bared his soul. Speaking directly to the judge, he admitted his flaws, acknowledged his fears, and vowed to do whatever it took to give Emily the love and security she deserved. His sincerity resonated deeply, turning the tide in their favor. By the time the judge announced his verdict, Michael's heart was pounding so fiercely he could barely breathe. Would he lose the daughter who had unknowingly saved him from himself? Or would the law finally recognize the bond they had forged against all odds? As the gavel fell, signaling the end of the hearing, relief washed over him like a tidal wave. Emily was officially his daughter, Emily Carter. Their celebration back at the mansion was joyous, filled with laughter, balloons, and heartfelt hugs. But amidst the happiness, one question lingered in the air, unanswered. Did Olivia, watching from above, approve of the life her daughter now led? And if she did, what message might she send to guide them forward? This is where I'll leave you for now. Because while Michael and Emily's story has reached a turning point, it's far from over. Their journey is one of healing, growth, and discovering what it truly means to belong. So stay tuned for the next chapter, where we'll delve deeper into their lives, uncover secrets hidden in the past, and explore the challenges still waiting on the horizon. Until then, ask yourself this: if you could speak to someone you've lost, what would you say? And more importantly, how would you honor their memory moving forward? The days that followed the adoption hearing were a whirlwind of emotions for both Michael and Emily. The mansion, once a symbol of Michael's isolation, now buzzed with life. Emily ran through its halls, her laughter echoing in spaces that had been silent for years. She decorated her room with drawings she made at school, each piece telling a story, some of her mother, others of Michael, and many of their new life together. But beneath the surface of this newfound joy lay unresolved tensions. The legal battle may have ended, but Emily still carried the weight of her past. Nights were often interrupted by dreams where her mother appeared, smiling but distant, always slipping away just as Emily reached out to hold her. Michael noticed these moments more than he let on. He would sit by her bed during those restless nights, stroking her hair until she fell back asleep. Each time, he felt a pang of helplessness. No matter how much love he poured into her life, some wounds couldn't be healed overnight. And then there was the lingering question about Olivia. Since discovering the photo and learning of their shared history, Michael hadn't spoken much about it to Emily. But the revelation gnawed at him. Was it mere coincidence that fate had brought Olivia's daughter into his life? Or was there something greater at play, as Emily believed when she said, "Mom must have led me to you"? These thoughts haunted him, especially late at night when the house grew quiet. One evening, after tucking Emily into bed, Michael found himself standing outside on the balcony, overlooking the sprawling garden. The stars shimmered above, reminding him of the promise he'd made to Emily, to look up whenever she missed her mother. He wondered if Olivia ever looked down from those same stars, watching over them. A soft voice broke his reverie. "Dad!" It was Emily, clutching Mr. Hugs tightly in one arm. "I thought you were sleeping," Michael said gently, crouching down to meet her gaze. "I woke up and saw you weren't there," she admitted, her voice tinged with worry. "I wanted to make sure you didn't go to the stars too." Her words struck a chord deep within him. How could such a small child carry so much fear of abandonment? Michael pulled her close, holding her as though shielding her from the world. "I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart," he whispered. "Not tonight, not ever." Emily nodded, though doubt lingered in her eyes. "Can we talk about Mom again?" she asked hesitantly. "I want to remember her better." That request sent Michael spiraling back to his college days, to the vibrant young woman who had once been the center of his universe. Olivia hadn't just been his first love. She had been his anchor, the person who reminded him that success wasn't everything. Yet, blinded by ambition, he had let her go. Now sitting beside Emily, he realized how important it was to share those memories, not just for her sake, but for his own healing. So, under the starlit sky, they talked about Olivia. They laughed at stories of her quirky habits, like how she insisted on feeding pigeons every morning despite Michael teasing her about it. They cried remembering the pain of their goodbye, and they marveled at how Olivia's spirit seemed to live on in Emily. As weeks turned into months, Emily began to flourish. Her confidence grew, and she formed friendships at school, particularly with Sophie, whose family became regular visitors at the mansion. Helena doted on the girls, baking cookies and teaching them old-fashioned games. Even Mr. Garcia got involved, regaling them with tales from his childhood, while preparing elaborate meals. For the first time, Emily felt part of a community, a real family. But even amidst this progress, shadows loomed. One day, while cleaning out an old storage room, Michael stumbled upon a box labeled Sarah. Inside were mementos of his late wife, photos, letters, and trinkets that brought back a flood of bittersweet memories. He sat alone in the dimly lit room, sorting through the items. Sarah had been his second chance at love after Olivia, and losing her had shattered him. As he held a framed picture of them together, he couldn't help but wonder, was he capable of truly loving someone without eventually losing them? The thought terrified him. What if he failed Emily too? What if he couldn't protect her from the harshness of the world? These fears consumed him, making him withdraw slightly. Though Emily sensed his distance immediately. "Why are you sad, Dad?" she asked one afternoon, finding him staring out the window. Michael forced a smile, brushing off her concern. "I'm fine, Princess. Just thinking." But Emily wasn't convinced. She climbed onto his lap, resting her head against his chest. "You don't have to be scared of being happy," she murmured. "Mom told me that once. She said happiness is like a flower. It needs sunshine, rain, and time to grow." Her wisdom left Michael speechless. How could a child understand things adults struggled with? In that moment, he realized Emily wasn't just his daughter, she was his teacher, guiding him toward a future neither of them could have imagined. Still, the road ahead wasn't easy. News arrived that a journalist had caught wind of Emily's unusual adoption story and planned to publish an article. The prospect of public scrutiny terrified Michael, who valued privacy above all else. Worse, the article hinted at digging into Olivia's past, potentially uncovering secrets Michael wasn't ready to face. Tensions escalated when the article hit the stands. Headlines screamed about the billionaire who adopted a mysterious orphan, sparking debates about privilege, morality, and whether Michael's intentions were genuine. Some praised him as a hero. Others accused him of using Emily for publicity. The backlash affected Emily too. At school, classmates whispered behind her back, and Sophie's parents expressed concerns about their daughter's friendship. Through it all, Emily remained resilient, clinging to Michael's promise that they would face everything together. But the pressure mounted. One evening, as Michael readied himself for yet another interview defending his decision, Emily approached him with a drawing in hand. It depicted two figures, a tall man and a small girl, standing hand in hand under a bright sun. Above them, written in bold letters, were the words, "We are strong together." Tears welled up in Michael's eyes. This little girl, who had lost so much, was reminding him of what truly mattered. Love wasn't about perfection or avoiding pain. It was about standing firm, even when the storm raged around them. With renewed determination, Michael prepared for the final showdown. He knew the climax of their journey was near, the moment when they would confront the world's judgment and prove that their bond was unbreakable. Little did they know, however, that the greatest test of their relationship was yet to come. A letter arrived, addressed to Michael, bearing handwriting eerily familiar. It was from someone claiming to know Olivia and demanding answers. The letter that arrived a few days after the adoption hearing was unexpected. Michael stared at the envelope, his name written in neat cursive handwriting he hadn't seen in years. His heart raced as he recognized it immediately. Olivia's hand. How could this be? She had passed away weeks before Emily came into his life. Yet there it was, tangible proof of her presence, lingering in ways he couldn't explain. With trembling fingers, he opened it, half expecting to find an old note from their college days. Instead, the date on top showed it was written just days before she died. "Michael," it began, and already his chest tightened. "If you're reading this, then something has happened to me, and I need you to know why I didn't reach out all these years." Olivia went on to explain how she'd followed his career through news articles, proud of what he'd built, but saddened by the man he seemed to have become. A stranger to joy, consumed by work. Then she revealed something that shook him to his core. Emily wasn't just her daughter. She was also his. The revelation hit like a tidal wave, leaving him breathless. All those years ago, when they parted ways, Olivia had been pregnant but chose not to tell him, believing it would only complicate his ambitions. I wanted her to grow up knowing love, Olivia wrote, even if it meant losing mine. Michael sat motionless for a long time, the letter clutched tightly in his hands. He thought about everything, the pain of losing Sarah, the emptiness that followed, and now Emily, who had unknowingly brought him full circle. It felt surreal, almost too perfect, as though fate itself had orchestrated every step leading to this moment. But what did it mean for Emily? Should he tell her? Would she understand? These questions swirled in his mind until finally he decided she deserved to know the truth, but only when she was ready. That night, as Emily drifted off to sleep, Michael kissed her forehead and whispered, "Good night, my miracle." For the first time, the word carried its full weight. She stirred slightly, mumbling something about stars, and he smiled, glancing out the window at the glittering sky. If Olivia truly believed in the universe guiding them together, then maybe she was right. After all, how else could so many coincidences align so perfectly? In the weeks that followed, life settled into a rhythm both familiar and new. Emily thrived. At school, her confidence growing with each passing day. Sophie remained her closest friend, and Helena became the grandmother figure Emily never had. Even Mr. Garcia got involved, teaching her simple recipes and sharing stories of his own childhood. The mansion, once cold and impersonal, now brimmed with warmth and laughter. Yet beneath the surface, Michael wrestled with guilt over the choices Olivia had made alone, and gratitude for the gift she'd left behind. One evening, as they strolled through the garden under a canopy of stars, Emily asked, "Dad, do you think Mom knew we'd find each other?" Her question caught him off guard, but he answered honestly, "I think she hoped we would." They walked in silence for a while, hand in hand, until Emily stopped abruptly. "Do you miss her too?" she asked softly. Michael knelt down to meet her gaze. "Every day," he admitted, "but having you here makes it easier." As months turned into years, Emily grew into a bright, compassionate young girl. On her 8th birthday, Michael surprised her with a trip to the beach, a place Olivia had loved dearly. As they stood watching the waves crash against the shore, Michael pulled out the letter. "Emily," he said gently, "there's something I need to tell you about your mom, and about us." Her eyes widened as he explained everything, piece by piece, letting her absorb the enormity of it all. To his relief, Emily didn't react with anger or confusion. Instead, she hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Does this mean you're really my dad?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Always," he replied, holding her close. "From the moment I met you, I was yours." Years later, as Emily prepared to graduate high school, Michael reflected on the journey they'd shared. What began as a chance encounter in a clinic had transformed into a bond deeper than blood. The scars of loss still lingered, for him, for her, and for the memory of Olivia. But they no longer defined them. Together, they had created something beautiful, a family forged not by obligation, but by choice, shaped by love, resilience, and trust. On graduation day, as Emily stood proudly on stage, Michael watched from the audience, pride swelling in his chest. When she spotted him afterward, she ran straight into his arms. "Thank you, Dad," she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes, "for everything." And as they embraced, Michael realized the truth of Olivia's words. Love wasn't confined to lifetimes or circumstances. It transcended them. In the end, it wasn't about finding a cure for missing someone. It was about learning to carry that love forward, creating new memories while cherishing the old. Underneath the vast, starry sky, Michael Carter and Emily Carter stood side by side. Two souls forever connected by destiny, healing, and hope.